Merhaba, hello everyone. Today it is the 14th of February 2022, so it is Valentine's Day, and I am going to talk about a lovable bike, the Triumph TRW. It's a 500cc side valve twin, and welcome to our garage where we have a lot of parts and motorcycles, ongoing projects, so we have a big mess, but yeah, we love it this way. So welcome, and first of all I am going to describe or explain how we bought this bike. I've bought it from a friend of ours. He is a very well-known motorcycle enthusiast. So we bought it from him. It had been sitting there since the 80s or so in a garage, so it was a barn find basically. It has a lot of missing parts from as one can see, but we have these parts, apart from missing exhausts, but which one could easily buy. And the carburetor, for example, the Solex carburetor for the TRW, which we don't have, but we will hopefully buy in the future when we make it run. This is currently seized at the moment, so the engine does not run, but will hopefully be running soon. I will ask the gold hands of my father to give it a look as well, so it will most probably be working soon. It is good to explain about the history of this bike, not this particular bike, but the history of this model actually. It was designed during the Second World War in 1942. There was the 5TW. It was a concept or preparation model designed before issuing the production model. The 5TW, however, was not mass produced, so it remained a concept. So after the prototype, the 5TW, Triumph, I think, did produce another prototype at the end of the war. I'm not sure exactly. However, by 1947, so just after the war, they produced another prototype which was held actually at the London Motorcycle Museum. However, it was sold off in an auction recently. I described that motorcycle more in a previous video that I filmed, so go search it in my videos. I did a video specifically on the London Motorcycle Museum, which has shut down, so the motorcycles were sold off in auctions, etc., and can not be seen by the general public today, obviously. The prototype of the TRW from 1947, as I explained, had magnesium crankcases. These have the aluminium crankcases. This one was, as far as I know, the first Triumph which had telescopic front forks. So it was a revolutionary type of model. Although it has a rigid frame from the war period, and it was designed in the war period, then it had the telescopic forks. During the war, if one can evaluate, the British bikes had the girder fork, apart from the matchless G3L, which, as stated by many who used those bikes in the army, etc., and even in the police department, for example, even in Malta they continued to use the matchless, etc. after the war. They preferred the matchless when it comes to handling, for example, and comfort, because of the telescopic forks. So this was another motorcycle which had now telescopic forks instead of the forchetta chatta, as we say in Maltese, the girder fork. However, the matchless G3R remains the bike that during World War II had the telescopic front fork. So these bikes went into production from 1948 till the mid-60s. It was a long production run, and they were produced around 16,000, a little bit less apparently. Nobody is sure exactly about the number produced, but it is stated that they were produced a number of around 16,000, maybe a little bit less. Basically, during the war there were the other models, there were 3 other models by Triumph and the BSAs, Norton and Matchless, for example. So the need of another bike may have been a bit too late for the war, or maybe because the resources were now focused on the other bikes. The soldiers were trained how to take care of the other bikes that were already issued, etc. One shall mention also that the factory of Triumph was also bombed and then moved to another place, so it was difficult maybe to produce another type of or model of motorcycle by Triumph. However, this one was really utilized after the war, the Second World War I mean. It was sold to other places such as Canada, and I think also South Africa and Germany and Holland, I think they had as well, or Pakistan I think. But also the UK, the British also kept some of these bikes, although I think that they did not really have a lot of these bikes, although they were produced in the UK. As already stated, these were sold strictly for military use and for other governmental services, maybe used by the governmental ministries or the police department, etc. So it was issued for the services. However, there were other which obviously were made to look civilian. For example, like this one. Then after they did their service, they were sold to the public, and some made arrangements, some made some modifications to appeal more like a civilian motorcycle instead of a military bike. For example, painting it differently. One also has to mention that the last time I saw on Facebook a post about this bike that Pride and Clark in London used to buy these bikes new. So they had surplus maybe of these bikes, not being sold for the services, and they bought them and sold them as civilian bikes. How? Because they bought them and painted it black basically and sold them as civilian bikes. However, they were not initially designed to be sold for the general public as civilian bikes, as said, but for the services. These were designed for durability and reliability, and those who were using these for their daily commute or parades or anything say that it is a very enjoyable, relaxing ride. It has a claimed top speed of around 72 miles per hour, but I'm in doubt that it would reach 72 miles per hour. Maybe it would be more sensible to say it has a top speed of around 65 miles per hour, while the weight of this bike is around 145 kilograms. So it is not that heavy actually for a 500cc motorbike. As already explained, the engine of the TRW is a side valve twin, so a flathead. The exhaust come into one, so the second exhaust on this side go over the frame, and connects with the pipe along the other side. One should mention the other 3 motorcycles provided by Triumph during the Second World War. There was first the 3SW 350cc single cylinder side valve as well. It was not actually 350, 343cc, something like that. There was also the 5SW, which was a 500cc single cylinder and side valve as well. There was also another 350, it was the 3HW. This one, however, was not side valve, it was overhead valve. However, with this one, or the prototype, the 5TW that was actually introduced, the original design in 1942 was twin. So it was the nucleus, the basis of creating then developing this engine for the TRW. However, as said, it did not make it in time for the war. It was issued then in 1948. As one can see, this is a pre-unit engine here. So with a separate gearbox as well. And here there has to be the oil tank. Here right now it is missing. I think we've got one as well though. So it has to be installed here, the oil tank. As one can see, or maybe because I am mad about these historic bikes, it is full of character, and I think that it is not found in many of the modern bikes, unfortunately, in my opinion. Maybe the character is based upon the vibrations or the leaking oil or the scratches as well, so that may give it character as well. So I also think it like this. I also like it like this actually. Although obviously I also love those who have been restored or in an original condition. I appreciate all type of conditions actually. As stated as well, although it had a telescopic front, it still had the rigid back end. As also stated previously, I have the carburetor which is missing. It has to be a Solex carburetor, because I saw it as well in the London Motorcycle Museum. They had an engine on a crate, and it was like new basically, and I think it had also the carburetor attached. Here it has to have a carrier, so it is quite nice as well to putting maybe a bag or something. Yeah, other than that, it is a quite simple motorcycle and easy to work on. We've come to an end for this video as well. Thank you for following and for watching my videos. I will keep you updated and uploading other videos about classic motorcycles and sharing with you basically my passion. Thanks again and have a nice evening for Valentine's Day. Thank you.